Hey guys, welcome back to Content is Profit. In today's episode, this is the very first one. We've been talking about Business Creator Club for a while now, and this was the first Q&A session, open Q&A session that we did with incredible members of the group. So we had Surya and we had Dana that have been very, very active in the community, and they were able to join us. And Surya asked us a ton of incredible questions about content. In fact, I just had like the onboarding call like right before that with him, and I was like, stop, stop, stop. Bring those questions in to the session so then we can record it and put it out there for other people. So he wants to know if the model, number one, of interviews and podcasting is actually profitable because he sees it all over the place and kind of what the advantage is. So Fonzie comes in and he goes and does a very deep dive of like, who should we invite into the show? How do we frame the conversation? And then we share a 3-step system for you to kind of monetize from the very first one. And then we also talk about different frameworks because Dana is not doing podcasting. He's doing something else. So we go over different frameworks that can help move the needle forward. So super fun conversation with the people in the community. If you're not there yet, we're looking for our first 50 founding members. So go to businesscreator.club. Come join us. If you have any questions, reach out to me on social media and we can go from there. So enjoy the episode. Any questions? Open board. So I don't know who wants to go first.
Okay, cool. So just to provide more context for my question is more about till this point in time, over the last 7 years, I did not actually have to create content because I was selling one-on-one. And now since the family is growing and I want to spend more time with my kids, so I want to actually start selling one-to-many. And the goal with selling one-to-many, there are multiple mediums of selling one-to-many through webinars and stuff, but I also want to leverage content because at the end of the day, it helps me with my advertising costs as well. And with a lot of people going on to doing the interview site, like where people are doing interviews, posting it, is that still a viable option for us to go forth? Especially when you have not published since the last few years.
You got caught up in the last second for me. You said before the viable.
I said, is interview model still viable to get attention and to accelerate faster and to get more audience reach, especially when everyone in the marketplace is doing? Because when everyone does when everyone in the market does the same thing, it becomes the ordinary, and it becomes impossible for you to stand out in the marketplace.
What do you mean by the interview model? I guess just like interviewing potential
interview
clients.
model
Is that what you mean?
Basically, like you are expanding your reach, your influence through interviews, where you are interviewing different people, bringing different people to the show, talking about a specific topic, reaching out, and stuff.
Okay.
That is one way. That's one way that I think I can tap into the world of content creation. As I create more content that is more expert-based content or solving different problems.
Yeah.
Also, you want to take a stab?
I have some thoughts on this.
Sure.
So first is like thinking about the medium, right? So if we're talking about interviews, for the most part, might be the medium might be some sort of long form. So it's either going to be YouTube, right? I mean, you can post it anywhere, honestly. Right?
I prefer YouTube.
We're mainly talking podcasting, right? We're talking that sort of thing. So you say you have experience selling one-to-one. I think the advantage of interviews is the fact that you get to build rapport quickly with the person that you're interviewing. Right. So that is audience number one, right? You can make a sale to that person, right? You can transition that conversation to something else. But again, it's not leaving the model of one-to-one. Now, the value on that is, what we've seen with other people's podcasts, with our own podcast, is not all the podcasting is a tough medium. I will say it's a challenging medium. There's not great discoverability. Therefore, you need to have good promotion, right? Like you need to have, like you create your podcast and then you got to go into put on your marketing hat and be like, okay,
distribution.
How am I going to promote my podcast to get listeners into it? Now, just like any other video, right? Then you got to see, well, how many, what's the retention looking like into this, right? Like, people are going beyond the hook. All these things, right? I mean, I can make it as overwhelming as you want right now. But
no, I'm good. I'm already overwhelmed, so you can't make me more overwhelmed.
So that's not the idea, right? Now, if we keep that medium, that interview base, and what you're trying to do, sell one to many, I think the value in there is easier potentially, and I'm doing air quotes here because everybody might be different, to tap into other people's audiences, right? So we have a few concepts in here that we've worked out through our podcasting journey. One of them is the ladder of influence, right? Which is, let's say Tony Robbins is at level A, right? Top of the ladder. And we are a level C. It's going to be very difficult to make a jump from C to A and get Tony Robbins and then potentially leveraging his audience, right? But it might be easier for us to get somebody that is level C that they might be willing to share our interview. They might be able to cross promote the podcast. If we do clips and we tag them, they might share them. Again, there's multiple ways we can promote a podcast, right? But a level C influencer, right? Influencer that is kind of like aligned at our same level might be more open to sharing. But we can go to a level B, right? And then we can leverage that level B influence in a way to then get to like higher levels of influence. So that is the value that I see on podcasting on one to many, which is you get to leverage other people's audience, but you need to be intentional and it's going to be work. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. Like, yeah, dude, you make an interview and people will be sharing it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to take work. You might have to write the emails for them. You might have to create the social pieces for them. And also they have to be social pieces that are enticing and good enough that they will be like, I'll share this, right? So for what I recommend people that want to get into podcasting at first is like, dude, like focus on the big one relationship that you have in front of you, which is your guest, right? So if I would probably focus into selling some sort of, high lifetime value, product that you have. I don't know if it's a service exactly. You might have to fill me up in here exactly what is kind of like your service.
Oh, it's totally service.
And your product service. So, right, so if you bring somebody as a guest, that transition is really easy if you're talking for them for, let's say 30 minutes to an hour and you're having a good conversation with them, you're building rapport, you can easily make that transition. The way we do it is like at the end of the conversation, we're like, hey, dude, like, Surya, by the way, I don't know if you know exactly what we do, right? But like, this is it. And they're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Obviously, we're bringing in guests that we, in a way, know they might already have a need for this as well, right? So you're kind of like doing a little bit of prospecting. If you
that is one of my follow-up questions as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's an awesome question. It's just like so low pressure. And then that can transition into a conversation that, let us show you the behind the scenes. Let's schedule another call and then I'll just guide you through the stuff, what we do and how we can help, all that stuff, right? So those are like my big thoughts on the one-to-many with the interview model. Now, you can put money behind, that's the other thing, you can put money behind your podcast. And now you're going to get a whole bunch of people. Based on our personal experience, when we put money on podcasts, sure, you can get a lot of downloads, which not necessarily mean you're getting a lot of listens, right? We just were on a mastermind yesterday with the Podmatch group, and the producer or the ex-producer for Alex Hormozzi's podcast, he's in there, and he was talking that he heard that usually about 40% of downloads actually do not translate into actual listens, right? So it's people that they might be downloading your episode, but never listening to it. So if you put money behind it, just, you're going to have to create a kind of like a baseline on, how many downloads am I getting? How many actual listens am I getting? how many people are, what's my retention? What is my stick rate from one episode? Do they go to the next one? Because that's how they build rapport, right? It's not just on one episode. So again, it's a hard model, the podcasting one. I feel like a lot of people just kind of like sugarcoat it, like podcast is the next big thing, whatever. I think podcast is amazing if you want to build a high level network. Like that is, honestly, that's the one reason I'm like, I love podcasting, is because I get to make the coolest friends. And, now we have a contact list of some incredible people that it would have been very difficult to reach before. And now we have rapport with them, right? And we can reach out to them. So if you want to get into one-to-many with content, sure, you can start organic content as well. My probably go-to thing that I would do right now is start to build your invisible list, right? How some people call it, which is when you post content on Instagram, on Facebook, and I'm sure on other social medias too, Facebook has the data of who watched what percentage of your video, right? True. And then you can retarget those people with more content, right? So that one is going to be a little more proactive in the sense that you will have to maybe run ads to retarget those people. And I wouldn't retarget it just with like a value content. I would like something valuable that demonstrates your competency, right? About like doing the thing. But at the same time, it's like a call to action. Like, hey, if you need help, I can help you out. Or if you have some sort of resource, comment this, I can send you the resource, right? There's a bunch of strategies for those. But I think that might be the best strategy to start with one-to-many scenario, right? Because it's not too expensive to retarget the people that have already seen you. So now you're getting, those kind of like follow-up touch points. And then it doesn't take that much effort in comparison to like a 1 hour podcast to create a valuable piece of content. So you can get feedback quick. You can get quick feedback by posting those and then running retargeting ads to the people that are watching you already.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So big thoughts. I know.
I've got some follow-up questions around this as well. So one of the follow-up questions that I was thinking about is around the point of retargeting the people. So for you to retarget the audience, first thing you need to have views. You got people to watch the video. So rather than just posting the piece of content and hoping the content gods actually listen, the platform gods actually publish it.
Exactly.
What are the other distribution platforms that seem to work for you guys to get more eyeballs?
Yeah. So
hold on, can I chime in before you go into the ads side?
Well, I'm just gonna make this distinction real quick, and then you can go ahead. I mean, you gotta think about this. Like, all this is paid somehow, right? Like, we're gonna pay it with our own time, which is the organic reach, right? For the most part, like, I'm gonna spend my time creating content. I'm gonna put it out there, and then I'm gonna wait organically to see what is the response from people. I'm going to get some feedback. I'm going to use that feedback to make my next move. That's just usually how it goes, right? The other side of the coin is money, right? I can pay for my distribution and accelerate that feedback loop by running an ad to content. So you said, I can put my content out there and wait for the distribution gods to do this thing, right? You can do that test. See, okay, is my content engaging enough that, people are going to look at it? I recently heard that it's actually, it might be one of the experiments I might want to run here in the Business Creator Club, which is, my Instagram is pretty old. My Instagram is from when I was in college. I have a bunch of friends in there. And the idea was your friends are hurting your reach. Because if your content when you publish it is first being shown to the people that follow you, right? And for the most part, at first, when whoever follows you might not have an interest in business or whatever.
Correct.
They might not be interested, and your friends might be like, oh, okay, whatever. He posted another thing. I'm scrolling. It might be hurting your reach. So the idea that I just heard is start a brand new account. Like, open a brand new account. Don't follow anybody. Literally just start posting your content and let the algorithm reach the people that are interested in that. And eventually, it will build an audience. Again, that takes time, right? I think I still think it's a decent idea. On the flip side, the money side of things, you can create a video and let's say put $10 behind it just for video views, right? Not leads, no nothing, just for video views. You're going to reach X amount of people, and then you're going to get data, right? You're going to get data on who watched 25% of your video, 50% of your video, 100% of your video. And then you can create audiences based off of that too. Like, okay, well, I want an audience based off the people that watch 100% of my video because clearly they're interested. Find me more people like that, right? So that feedback loop is, you're increasing it by paying the platform. So again, you have both models. If you have time and you're willing to put in the effort on that, 100%, why not try the organic way? I always think that's a more than valuable way, but just keep in mind, the people that have 100,000 followers and all the stuff, those are only a very small percentage of all the people that are actually in there. True. So, and then if you want to speed up that feedback loop, why don't put money behind it on the distributions, see what is the answer from people, and then move on to the next step. Sorry, Daniel, that you got it.
You're good. I think it's very easy for Fonzie and me to kind of go in like heavy in details because we've seen so many models, right? Not only maybe not from us, but from the people that we've helped, and literally every single model can work, right? Like that's the beauty of it. So this is why we harp so much on find your flow, and it's going to depend on like resources. So I drew something here where, is there a reason you're levitating towards the interview side?
No, I see a lot of people doing it. So I was like, is this something that I should be focusing on? That's a pure interest-based question.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sticking to an idea. As long as it works, I'm more than happy to test.
So my theory that a lot of people go on the podcasting side or content side to the interview side is because it's probably the easier way to get it going, right? Like I don't have to think about my own content. Like I can just go ask somebody about the stuff and and
then you can repurpose stuff.
And you can multi-purpose stuff. Yeah, exactly. And our agency business was built based on the people that want that, right? Like, right. So here's the interesting part. They're all the same. So you're like, oh man, again, another talking head video of these two people having a conversation, right? Like, so I'm a true believer that there has to be kind of like, what's the next part to that? That's just a start. That's not the end of the content itself. Like the goal is not to have the best interviews possible. Of course, like that's part of it, but there's something that comes after the conversation. Like Francis said, that relationship. So in our specific case, to be completely honest, if the podcast does well, awesome. I mean, that's how we found many of you. Dana, you found us through the podcast, right? Mary found us through the podcast. The people I've been in the community found us through that, right? But that's like, I think Dana found us after 500 episodes, right? Like, it's crazy. So part of that is like the relationships that we build with the people that come to our show is what helped move the needle, because there was a plan afterwards. So I think that's where the benefit comes. The other aspect to this, it goes back to like messaging. So let's say you're interviewing people. Most people take the role of the reporter, right? So they'll be like, Surya, tell me, how do you build your business? And then like, I'm learning from what you said. So what happens on the audience level is that now the audience is positioning you as not the expert. They're positioning the expert as the expert, right?
Yeah, that is also something that I was worried about.
So how do we flip that? Is we are basically, you as a host, inviting people to your platform because we're both passionate about X topic, and we're both going to speak from a place of authority. And then I know that you're into newsletters, but this applies if you also collaborate on the writing side. So Surya, you have your points of view over that topic, and you're just having a conversation with this other expert about that topic, right? So I'll be like, hey, I respect your opinion, but we've tried this, or I like this, and it's okay to be curious and find out kind of what they do it, but the angle is a slight difference. So what happens is now we're also leveraging the interview to position yourself as an expert, because you're also giving your opinion. So on the clips, on the segments, is not just you asking a question, is you giving a point of view on that specific topic. So I'll give you an example on the messaging side of that. let's say we just had an interview that came out with Kimi that we were like at the Keys at one of her events, and she's talking about how she built an audience, how she was able to fill her event with her method. And mostly she does a lot of PR. She goes to TV shows. Like that's where her people watch the content. So I'm like, well, that's super interesting. What we've seen on our side is X, Y, Z. And, we've tried this. Now it's not me like, oh, that's so cool. How do you do it? It's like, hey, I give my opinion. And then I'd be like, how can we integrate this? And now it becomes more of a collaboration instead of an interview. So then now where the people listen, be like, oh, Surya knows his stuff too. Kimi's awesome. Like she's bringing, a ton of good value, but I also, now they see you as an expert. So that's number one. And then I wrote here, let me see if I can show it here on the iPad. This is you right here, right? And then you have your podcast. Mm-hmm. And then after the podcast, you have the ask. The link of the video that I sent, the YouTube video, that's our vlog. But at the very end, the last like 8 minutes, we explain the process that we do for the show, like to drive the opportunity. So obviously on this side, right, you want to sell something. The one-to-many. What's the one-to-many? Is it a workshop? Is it a course? Is it, what is it, right? So we got to decide on that. Do you have that decided?
Yeah, workshop.
A workshop. Awesome. Perfect. So now you have an opportunity to make an ask to that person that comes to the show, right? And this is like, we have to do it with two hands because there's a lot of people like, oh yeah, just create a podcast so you can sell to your guest. It's not what I'm saying here. Is your guest is also your number one audience member because they're listening to you while you have the conversation. So if you have the conversation from a place of authority, they're going to be like, man, Surya knows his stuff, right? About the topic that we're talking about. So the ask, what happens, and on the video, I share like the three questions, but it's basically a kind of like, what can we do for you? Like, this was awesome. Do you know 3 other people that might be a good fit for the show? And then, by the way, I don't know if this is for you, but we do X. Will you be interested in a behind the scenes type deal? Or I would love to collaborate with you at some point, right? Some degree. About 80% of the conversations, if you do it, they'll say yes to that because they spend a bunch of time with you already, right? They build the rapport. So that they can become a referral source, they can become an opportunity, potentially a customer, right? But we're not just to sell them, right?
Right.
You can, you can exchange. Like I said, workshop. So now that person that you ask, they themselves. This is where I see like the interview is the starting point. They themselves can have access to your audience. So be like, okay, who's gonna benefit from Surya's workshop? Who's going to benefit from your workshop, Surya?
In this case, people who are not using AI and creating offers manually. In this case, I have created an AI tool to create offers.
So you want to teach, do you want to show people how they can leverage AI and improve their offers?
Correct.
So these people.
And that's a starting point of it. And that's an entry level.
Okay. So then it will be like business owners, entrepreneurs that are kind of familiar with AI. They have an offer and they know they can make it better type deal.
Yeah. For example, to be very specific, people who have existing offers, but the upsells, one of the biggest problems is upsells do not convert very much. So they need to think about ideas at a later point in time. They need to come up with offers on the spot to test them very faster. So that is where the AI tool can speed up the process of thoughts and create offers that you can test faster.
Okay, so obviously they have to they need to be problem aware. They'll be like, I have an offer, but it's not converting. I need to test, and I lack the creativity. I don't know how to test this fast to be able to do it. So I'm gonna try to do AI as a solution to help me test this stuff. Okay, so now the question is, who has those people, right? Like, what person, what community, what platform have those people? Do you have somebody in mind? Let's say, not counting
Wilder, Myron Golden,
Russell
Brunson.
Perfect. Okay, so based on what Fonzie said, level A influencers. Those are level A influencers. Totally okay. When we launch Content is Profit, we're like, we're gonna get Russell. Russell has not come to the show mainly because we haven't asked, but it's like the level A, right?
Correct.
But we also started bringing level C's, level B's that might have smaller communities. So Eileen Wilder might have a customer, and I'm not saying don't go ask her. Maybe go ask her.
Yeah.
Right. There's going to be moments where you can leverage, let's say they're launching a book, they're launching a program. Hey, and Eileen, I have a podcast. Your show is a way to add value to Eileen in that case, because she's going to promote it there. And then you have access to that conversation. But let's say she has Susie, and Susie built a community of maybe 100 people, entrepreneurs with your plan. Now Susie is your guest because Susie has access to 100 people. Now that's a starting point from like one to many. So after the conversation, hey, Susie, this was amazing. By the way, I've checked, you have this incredible community. I've seen some of the posts, I've seen some of the testimonials. It's incredible. You're offering a bunch of incredible results to these people. By the way, I've collaborated with other people and I found similar to your audience. And I found that this is a problem that they experience. I would love to collaborate with you. I don't know if this is for you, but I would love to collaborate. Is it okay if we maybe schedule a 20-minute conversation tomorrow to kind of go over what we build that can help them and solve the problem that they're experiencing right now in your community? I promise you, Susie will be like, she's going to think about it and she's going to be like, at least she's going to give a chance to that call. And then that call, that's when you make the movement to, or the offer to her, be like, hey, can we host a workshop together? And now you're not selling her. You'll be like, hey, Susie is going to bring you on and she's going to be like, hey, here's Surya. He's going to help us do that. And then be like, hey, we normally charge X amount for these workshops per person. I'm okay. And then you start idealizing like what will be like a good option for you guys to collaborate. Hey, maybe we sell it to the audience. Maybe you do like an initial session for free. And then you're able to sell to those 100 people. Now, but you have Susie's backing because you had that whole rapport. So that's where, like, inside of that's why I asked you, like, who's your client? But then this framework is here. So fastest path to cash, that's the question that we started answering. And it's like, okay, well, if you have content, right? And then there's an audience that watches your content. Let's say it's not Susie. How can we get to this the fastest? Well, if we need a high volume for our funnel to do that, that's all the questions that you asked earlier. Can we run ads? Can we do this thing? But to do that, it might take some time. So be like, okay, do I have the time to experiment and try this stuff? Or if I need to do it tomorrow, what's the fastest path? Is a conversation with the decision maker. And that's what we just talked about, right? So you create content, you have audience, ads. Well, for ads, where do they need to go? They need to go to probably a landing page, right? An offer or a thing, right? So do you have that? Do you have the funnel? Do you have the landing page? Do you have the copy? Has that been optimized? To me, that sounds like a lot of work if you don't have it ready, right? Or to test it out. Like that will probably take, it's not wrong. People do it, but it might take a little bit more time versus you create the content. You have an audience, which is one person, which is your guest. You ask for collaboration, and then you have the opportunity for the workshop. So
nice.
Does that clarify a little bit? Kind of like the levels. They all work. It's just we need to figure out which one might be the best, and maybe to test it out, be like, you don't need to record once a week. Maybe you launch the show. Happy to help you with that. That's going to be a resource that's going to be in the group. We can hop on a one-on-one. Super simple to launch the show, and you can record, be like, okay, I have these 30 prospects, and you do a sprint. If you need speed, you do a sprint where you interview every single person in the next 2 weeks. And you tell them, hey guys, we're pre-recording. The show is going to actually launch in a month. Please launch it. Don't be that guy that doesn't launch the show, right? We're happy to support you there as well. Yeah. And they're going to come on, and you're still going to be able to do 30 asks in 2 weeks. Guess what? You're going to get a ton of feedback that you're like, oh, Surya, that's something that I need. That's something that my audience needs. That's something maybe my community needs, right? Or they're going to tell you, we're not really looking for that. But the speed of conversation, and they don't have to be 1 hour shows. We can get into the logistics of the show. It could be like a 10-minute show that the premise is one question about AI, right? And then that's it. And then you can stack them. Worst case scenario, you have content. Yeah. And then you start the distribution, right? So anyways, again, easy for us to go to overwhelm zone. I'm going to stop right there, but.
Right. You really helped me with thought process. You really reminded me of a thought that I had. When I wanted to create content, when I had no leverage, I wanted to reach out to people saying that, hey, most people ask you to jump on an interview, which in your busy schedule is not going to work. So here is the question. Could you record a quick 2-minute video, send it to me, and I'll upload it as a short form reel. And if you feel like this is something that you can actually do, I can send out multiple questions. You can record all of them and I can put it on my platform. And that becomes something that as a content engine has for you to get more reach as well. That's the thought I had. I never executed on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting thought. I would probably, I personally, I think I would challenge that idea. And again, it's all a test. Yes. And I would encourage 100% go do it and see what happens. My only challenge there is the fact that you're not having that conversation with that person. You're not building enough rapport. If you're following the model that we just explained, I don't think you're building enough rapport to be able to then do the ask. Yeah. Versus I'm jumping on a conversation with you, whether that's on Instagram or Zoom or Riverside, whatever platform. And we're having this connection because what happens is they jump on the call, you have a pre-conversation. Hey, dude, Surya, nice meeting you, man. Like, we're both human beings. I'm so excited you're here. I'm stoked to talk about it. You create that excitement, right? Like, and then that person connects with you personally. Right. And then what happens is you create this human connection, and then it's super easy for you to make that ask after the conversation if it's valuable, right? Like, we have to work on the message and be like, okay, is this actually valuable for that person too? So you're almost like, what was the analogy, Fonzie? Was it the peanuts or the like you add you keep adding like food. The candy analogy. Okay, so Luca, right? Luca 6 loves bubble gum, right? All these things, and he's always, Papa, can I get some gum, right? And I might not be the best for this, but it's like, of course. So I grab and I have, let's say candy or Tic Tacs, right? The orange Tic Tacs. He loves the orange Tic Tacs. So I'll be like, of course, here's one orange Tic Tac, and he's like, all happy, and then be like, oh no, actually, can I have it back? Is it gonna be happy? Is it gonna be happy?
Definitely not.
And then I'll be like, hey, Lou, here's you one Tic Tac. Actually, here's 2 Tic Tacs. Actually, here's a 3rd Tic Tac. But hold on. Let me get that Tic Tac back. So he still has 2 Tic Tacs, so he might not get mad. The more Tic Tac I give him, he's going to be very happy. And then let's say he has 10 Tic Tacs in his hand. Maybe I'll ask for 1. He's still going to be very happy because he has 9. Yeah. So same thing with our guests, right? What are the Tic Tacs that we give them? What's the value that we get? Well, we have an incredible relationship because we had a pre-call. Then we made it super simple for them to join. Then we're pushing their product, pushing their community, pushing their message together with our opinions. They had a great experience. They're happy. Now, when it comes time for the ask at the very end, then we're not taking the only Tic Tac we gave them. We just build a ton of rapport ahead of time. We're just taking the 9th Tic Tac, and they'll be like, dude, absolutely. Let's collab, right? So it's like, how do we build enough, rapport and give them enough Tic Tacs ahead of time so we can make that ask for collaboration? That's for these very specific ones. So if you do, for example, if you do what you're doing, and again, maybe prove me wrong, Surya, dude, go execute it and prove me wrong. But I know as a host, when somebody sends me that, there's more friction for me to do it. It's like, oh, I have to put it on schedule. It's like, maybe it's the same model, but you're like, hey, Luis, let's hop on together. I'll just walk you through it. Super simple, as easy as possible. Because the end goal is not the content. The end goal is the relationship, is the ask, and so on, right? So I'll challenge that one. But again, maybe I might be wrong. Maybe people that prefer to do that. I don't know. Right?
I just got an idea. So what I'll do is I'll stack up the interviews ahead of time, talk to the people, build a relationship, do some kind of an offer at the back end. Once I have the relationship, if I send them, hey, voice note saying, hey, this is the question, how would you do? Then I can get a response faster. I'm just tapping, being in the circle to build a relationship. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, try it out, dude. Report back. Yeah. Let's do it. We're going to hold you accountable.
And I really like the thought process of not only selling the people, and rather than selling them, you can also JV with them. My frame was always selling the person, and you gave me a perspective that how I can turn that one-on-one to one-to-many. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to do that.
It's awesome, man. Dana, has that been helpful? Do you have any questions?
I mean, yeah, it is helpful. I'm curious on like how, back when I first started doing content, me and my friend were just talking on camera and doing interviews, and we wanted to kind of do a podcast. And of course, yeah, that didn't really happen. But like, how do you guys bring in interviews when you're in that early stage, like maybe Surya's in? And I felt like that was something that I got stressed about, was having to, find people without any systems, real systems in place.
Yeah. Good question. Do you want me to go, Fonzie, or do you have anything?
I mean, my 2 cents on that would be, first is you're gonna have to get comfortable with people saying no, thank you. Because we're gonna have to ask, obviously, a lot of people that we might want to have on the show. Going back to the ladder of influence, right? It's like, okay, if I ask Russell Brunson, like, I might not even get an answer, right? He might just look at it, whatever, his assistant, be like, hey, no, thank you. But then if I have somebody that might be, in more equal terms, business-wise with where we're at, but if we want to ask him to be on the show, that person probably will be more open to be on the show with us. Now, what we did was leverage those relationships that we were creating to get more people on the show. So again, and full transparency, we were lucky to at some moments, right? Like we got Chris Doe on the show, and how we got him was we were actually at a live event for, I forgot the name of them, but it's kind of like a business that doesn't exist anymore. But they were doing a live event, and he was a keynote speaker. And we on the chat, we were like, "Hey, dude, Chris, we got a podcast. You want to be in there?" And he was reading the questions, and he's like, "Yeah, sure. Send me a message, right?" Yeah. So that's what my brother talks about. Had the hashtag table face. So some of them we got lucky, right? We got Todd Brown. He's a huge marketer. I was reading his book, and I posted some stories, making reference to the book, that I read it, that I liked it, and he answered, and I took that opportunity to invite him to the show. Again, those are level A influencers that maybe we got a little bit lucky. It was a good combination of, the moment and us taking the initiative of asking them. But here is the gold, which is when you have somebody on your show, at the end of the shows, those 3 questions that my brother was talking about, one of them is like, hey, now that you experience the show and the type of people that we want to talk to, what we're talking about, do you know anyone that would love to be a guest on this show? And I'm telling you, if they had a good time, if they, you build rapport with them, they're going to be like, absolutely, dude, I'll introduce you to anybody that you want. Some people might be like, oh yeah, I already have like 3 people in my mind. Like, let me introduce you to them, right? And then it's more of a little bit of a follow-up task more than anything, right? Yeah. Like, hey, dude, you told me you were going to introduce me to these 3 people. Is it okay? We usually tell them, so it's low friction for them. We tell them that, hey, they're like, awesome. What are their names? Like, is it okay if we reach out to them and we just throw you under the bus, kind of like jokingly? We're like, hey, dude, like, Dana sent me to your profile, right? Like, Dana said you would be a great guest on my show. We're already being recommended by somebody. So that's an easier yes for people, right? And that is a great way to reach to, higher level influence in that ladder influence. So honestly, as soon as you get like a few yeses, it is way easier to get more, because then, their rapport does the job. And you just got to ask these people, like, all right, who else can I bring? And they usually ask, like, all right, what type of people are you looking for? And then you got your description. Hey, look, I'm looking for, a business owner that has done at least multiple 6 figures in revenue in the last year. Their main focus is newsletters, or, they've tried newsletters. Maybe they failed. They've done successful campaigns in newsletter. You tell them the description that you need, and they're going to be like, you know what? I got the right person for you. I know somebody. Awesome. Write down the name right there. Ask them, hey, is it okay if I reach out to them? And, tell them that you send me. Some of them are going to say like, yeah, absolutely. Some of them are going to be like, oh, let me, ask them if they're interested, and then I'll connect you guys. If they say that, then you just got to follow up like, hey, did you reach out to your friend, to this person? and all that. So that is literally how we've done over 500 episodes. Every single person that comes in, we're like, do you know anybody that would love to be a part of this? And I don't think I know of anyone. I can't remember of a single person that had says, no, I don't know anybody. Everybody's always excited to connect us to somebody else. And the cool part is like, even if they don't end up coming to the show, because we still do like a pre-screening for the people that they refer, you got more connections, you got more conversations, right? So you might jump on a pre-podcast call and be like, hey, yeah, let's make sure this is an actual fit for the show. And then you get to meet them, and then you're like, wow, you actually have needs for this that I can help you with. Let's keep that conversation going, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. At the beginning, it's a lot of hustling and just getting those yeses. But the big key, I mean, I'm not doing podcasts or anything, but I think the big key is asking those questions at the end, which something I never really thought of at the time or even really knew. So
I mean, for newsletters, if you're doing like a collaborative piece with somebody, is the same principle, right? And that's why I like to talk not so much about like the specific strategy, but the principle. And the principle is referrals, right? It's like you can ask for referrals regardless of the medium or the vehicle that you're trying to implement, right? At the end of the day is you're going to do newsletters, you have a conversation with somebody, asking for a referral for a next conversation. And that way, and at first, the first people that you might need to leverage, so it's not so much of a hustle, because I understand that. I'm telling you, I'm not anti-hustle, but I'm like, I don't want to be doing that part. You know, you can ask my brother. I hate like the cold outreach and all that stuff.
Me too.
Me too.
So what we did, like the first couple of episodes, were actually people we already knew. They were people from our network.
Yeah.
Right? And we reach out to a friend and we're like, hey, dude, like you do this, you've done it for a couple companies. You want to be our first guest? He's like, heck yeah, dude, let's do it. Right. And he has people in his network that we don't know, and then he connected us to some more people, and there you go. Of course, there are gonna be some people that you might have to do some asks and stuff like that. Like now, I personally we have a content is profit pipeline that I'm like, ooh, when I either read, I'm sure you know Growth in Reverse, the newsletter. When I read the Growth in Reverse and I see an awesome creator there, I'm like, oh, let me put him in the content is profit pipeline. I'm going to reach out and see if they say yes or no, but like, I know they'll be cool, right? Cool to have. So so eventually you get more comfortable asking the questions.
Yeah. And then we have a few minutes here left, but like, are you thinking in collaborations, whether that's not podcasting, but on the newsletter side? Because like we can maybe make it super specific to like what you're trying to do at the moment.
Yeah. I think something, that worked for me this week was I've been adding people on LinkedIn that are kind of in a similar boats, or maybe they're in the same career. And then, I just set up a call with this lady, and we just talked about, what she's doing, trying to just learning from her experience of trying to set up her kind of business and doing product audits and stuff like that. And those conversations kind of lead into other things. And I think I just need to make a habit, I guess, of doing that. I haven't collaborated with this newsletter. I still think there's a lot to experiment with. And I think that is.
I think bottom line is like we can use the content as a vehicle to connect and add value at the same time. Right. So, and that applies whatever format. We had a guy during COVID that he was doing Instagram live shows. You remember that guy, Fonzie? He reached out to us like 7 times. I think we did one of them, but his lives were like 5-hour long, right? So at the end, like we did one where we were able to hop in 1 hour, but the guy will bring together like 5 people, and they will be like, we're talking about the one thing, and then all 5 collaborated. But that was his pipeline, and every day he had 5 different people in there. And then after the conversation, I was like, man, that was actually like really exciting. And then at the back end, he'll reaching out on Instagram, and he'll be like, hey guys, by the way, like I would love similar thing. Like we'd love to collaborate and see, what we do. And he was a little bit more like direct with the selling of the thing that he wanted to do, but he was bringing 5 people a day into that content platform. which for him was not a show, was an Instagram live, right? He called it a show, but it's an Instagram live. So logistically, it's like, okay, what am I creating? How can I connect with these people to build a relationship? You can skip that with like the direct follow-up and see what they need. But if the objective is also create content, I think that's a viable thing. And here I'll have the screen here where we have the questions. And it doesn't have to be a 1 hour podcast or whatever, but this is what we do after the cameras is like, okay, hey, like Fonzie said, right? Like this has been so awesome. You now have the lay of the land with the show. Who else can we bring? And we kind of put the names in here, and we used to use flow chat to do this. Right now it's very manual through the email. Again, simplify, right? But flow chat, we can reach out and control the outreach there. And then right after that, be like, awesome. Well, I don't know if this is for you or for your community, but this is what we do. And we tell them, right? In that specific case where we're like religiously doing it was for the service. Hey, we create short form content from long form content. Like, do we provide fractional content teams? Is that something that you're interested in? We can show you the behind the scenes. So here's where you plug in your product, right? And so I don't know what you're selling right now, but it'll be like, I don't know what you do, but I can, we build these things and we do these audits or whatever, like whatever the step is. Would you be interested in collaborating? Mm-hmm. We can just hop on a 20-minute call tomorrow, right?
Yeah, you can. Sorry, quick idea, and this is on top of what Maria said. Is you can offer a free product audit to whoever comes in, right, as a test, and be like, hey, yeah, in exchange for a testimonial, and then after you do that one, it's like, hey, do you know any other people? Because now they experience that value. Do you know any other people that would love a product? I forgot the word right now.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody else that would need this, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's a good access. Sorry that I interrupted you.
No. You're good. I think we're on time, but Dana, do you have a last question or comment and again, you can always follow up with us.
Yeah, I know I will. I think, I don't have any pertaining to this. I signed up for the next, I don't know how many Q&As, so I'll be here and
every Thursday.
I'll make sure that I bring, I'll write down some questions and have some more, just targeted questions and figure out a better thing for my internet here.
Oh, you're good, man.
Thank you.
I did. Take care, man. Fonzie, you too.
Take care, guys.